Describe in single words only the good things that come into your mind about your mother.
My mother?
Yeah.
Let me tell you about my mother.
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
Have you ever been in an institution? Cells.
Cells.
Do they keep you in a cell? Cells.
Cells.
When you're not performing your duties, do they keep you in a little box? Cells.
This causes it. This causes it. This causes it. Information overload. All the electronics around you poisoning the airwaves.
You are listening to the High Tech Low Life podcast, a cyberpunk media retrospective. High Tech Low Life contains language and themes not suitable for all audiences, as well as spoilers for the content being covered. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back, everybody, to the High Tech Low Life podcast, aka the conqueror of the Astronomica Discord Recommendos channel. They said, we're going to make a nice channel to recommend stuff. And we said, no, we're going to make it about us.
Actually, if I remember right, Jeff said, hey, I think it'd be really convenient to have like a Recommendos channel like Josh and Eric talk about on their podcast.
Yeah.
So we were sort of invited in,
It
like
just
a
feels-
vampire.
It feels weird.
I agree.
Be in someone else's Discord, but it's nice. Anyway, speaking of Astronomica, we want to welcome back to the show for our second half of our Blade Runner discussion, Chris Mccoy. Welcome.
Hi. It's okay. We like you in the Discord over there.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. Otherwise, I'm so alone.
I was gonna say, we've also been setting our sights on the Pink Faux Hawk podcast channel. So no other podcaster's recommendation channel is safe as long as we don't have our own Discord, which we probably never will.
It's okay. You guys can just jump from Discord to Discord, or you can have maintain identities in a lot of different social circles. That's how I like to put it.
Yeah, distributed processing.
Digital couch surfing, I like to call it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, we're here to talk about Blade Runner again. We got a little long-winded last week, and gonna try to rein it in a little this week. We'll see how it goes. I'm excited to get to the climax, if you will. Mm-hmm. Before we do that, though, we're gonna talk dystopia because there's one thing in the news I want to mention. I mean, the news is dystopic this last week, right?
Sure. Yeah.
All of the many protests going on across the United States that are getting shot down.
I mean, not shot down
Not literally.
yet.
Sorry.
But yet.
Bad choice of words.
Don't tempt them.
Yeah.
My favorite is the Texas cops, the exact same dudes who were cowering in the street outside of an elementary school, have shown up in riot gear to put down a bunch of college students who are like, we don't want ethnic cleansing.
Stop genociding, please.
That it's a massive overreaction, but they have to be seen to be doing something. I think is kind of what it is. And if they think about it, it's the end of the term. In 4 weeks, all these people are going to be gone anyways. So why make a big deal out of it? Mm-hmm. Just like let it run its course. I mean, not that I'm encouraging them at all. I'm just saying that's how sloppily this whole thing has been handled.
Yeah,
it has.
That's what.
Go ahead.
I don't know. It's frustrating to me when people don't do their jobs, or don't do them well.
They do them stupid. Yeah, that's where
I
am.
Famous for that.
That's where I am with a lot of things. Like, okay, look, I hate your goal here, but the thing is, if you want to do that goal, you should at least do it right.
Have you ever seen that clip of Orson Welles criticizing Eliza Kazan or talking about Eliza Kazan? I think he was at Con, where he goes through the whole this guy he named names in front of HUAC. He's an asshole. He's in his personal life and then he goes through the whole thing and he's like, but I got to say he's a good director.
Yeah.
Like he's a really good director. And they're like it's the hater's credo. It's like, I'll hate on you, but if you do something good, I have to okay.
I
got to give you your props.
I can't argue with the quality of On the Waterfront. I mean,
right, yeah. You're a traitorous asshole, but that movie, it's good. So it's like, it's an admiration for craft, and then these guys. But on the other hand, maybe their goal actually is to make media of scary looking blue-haired left wingers, and being confronted by cops, because their audience the people who are trying to do this. Their audience are conservatives, and who are looking at a whole different media landscape than you are. Too. So I think there's definitely a strong element going on, people being used right now.
Oh yeah.
For that part, for those purposes. But once you get in a situation like this, once protests get started, it's full on information warfare, and I'm more sensitive to it as somebody who works in media.
Oh, good.
Like traditional print media, because I was, man, you don't know how many times I've wanted to unplug and just like, I don't want to pay attention to this shit for a while.
God, yes, that sounds wonderful.
I can't, because it's my job.
Yeah.
For a number of years, I'm an archaeologist, and in the summers I go out to the desert in Texas and work for about 2 months at a time. And
that sounds great.
For several years, we just there was no cell signal or anything where we were staying. So it would I would go 4 or 5 days between trips into town without even being able to check email. And it was doing that, I think it was 2021, was so relaxing, because I knew the world was falling apart out there and I couldn't do anything about it. But I just had the relaxation of, I don't know any of the details. I know things are undoubtedly terrible, but man,
here it's just holes and bones.
I can breathe.
I remember once I got to break some pretty big news to Josh when on the air when you got back from one of those trips. I can't remember what it was.
Oh yeah, what was it?
It was a celebrity death or something, but
yeah,
which isn't fun.
So Josh, how would you rate my performance as Augie?
I think it's great.
Augustus Novus, the character I play, is a xenoarchaeologist, or he's like a grad student anyway, who's trying to prove a point. He's trying, the whole point of this trip, why he's so far away from home, is because he's trying to prove that before the collapse, that the Rheingold cluster and his home,
the New Roman Republic
on Arcturus, had trade together, and they're a really long way off, and he actually succeeded at doing that. But what do you think about my performance from an archaeological standpoint?
Oh, I think it's honestly great, and since you bring it up, I'm actually kind of surprised that I hadn't mentioned it before.
Yeah, I am too, actually.
Or maybe I mentioned it. Maybe I mentioned it on the Discord or something, and you just didn't see the message, or I didn't tag you. Or
I think
something.
when Chris first joined,
we haven't talked about it on.
Yeah,
I think you did, but we haven't talked about it on your podcast.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's true.
Which is the important difference.
I think it is a great performance, firmly rooted in a number of people I know who come from, and this is not common across the at least the anthropology area of social sciences, but there are a number of people I know who come from what I would consider to be extraordinary privilege. And can really just totally afford to be kind of not quite dilettantes, even though I do know that that's Augie's raison d'etre
background.
But they can just float around wherever and do whatever that they think might be helpful for their their research goals, and it seems like it must be a great life.
I would say Josh has never mentioned a a huge love or prevalence of scanning in earthbound archaeology.
Actually, that's entirely false.
Okay.
My master's thesis is on remote sensing. Is on the use of remote sensing technology to detect and locate TP rings on the Great Plains.
That's basically scanning. All right.
Yeah. It's throw a drone up in the air and take a bunch of weird spectrographic photos. Also, I am on the cruise that I'm on, the laser guy. So I'm using LiDAR and lasers to measure everything. So, yeah, that I guess I had not interpreted that as the same, but yeah, I am very much into scanning.
Feeling really good about my choices right now. So,
I wanted to push us on into recommendos only because I literally went to a movie this afternoon.
Ooh,
and actually, I don't really recommend it, but I just wanted to say I went to a movie. I saw the first Omen.
I saw a trailer for that I didn't watch.
I heard a lot of good things about it from like TikTokers and stuff that I agree with, but didn't really love it myself. So I guess it's an anti-recommendo.
Just noted that you tried. I've never been a big Omen fan.
Me either. We watch a lot of horror, but I generally don't love like religious horror stuff, especially the super Catholic centric stuff.
Yeah, The Exorcist is like the best of those of the Catholic horror, but it's like shooting fish in a barrel.
They did it right. They did it first, and everything else is kind of felt like a copy.
Yeah.
So, but it had some definitely gross moments in it. So if that's what you're into, I guess you have that recommendo. But overall, storyline didn't hold up for me. Anybody else see anything in the last few days you want to talk about, or?
I saw Monkey Man.
You
guys are absolutely right. That movie fucking rules.
It rocks. Yeah.
I had heard nothing but good things about it. Did not expect how hard and clapping I would be in the last like 20 minutes of the movie. Just like the way that movie elevates and ups its game all the way through. It is amazing that he is a first-time director.
Yeah.
He's been in the business for a long time,
it's amazing for a first-time director and someone so beautiful.
Yeah, he's a handsome man.
Yeah.
There are some stand-up and cheer moments, absolutely, in that movie.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I had, if we talked about this before, but I can recommend Civil War, the Alex Garland.
Oh,
movie.
You can. You didn't actually talk about that before, because I'm curious.
Yeah, I really, it's like Full Metal Jacket, I think is the thing that I can most closely associate with. And I think people who've been talking about it want the film to do something that it's not trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a movie about war as a phenomenon, and like not a movie about here is a scenario of how the United States could break up in the next 5 years or whatever. That's not what it's trying to do.
Okay.
It's trying to do like this is a movie about what war looks like on the ground for the people who most of whom probably don't even understand what's going on.
Right.
Yeah. Frankly, the soldiers came and people started shooting at them.
Yeah.
Basically, but I think it's really, really well done. Kirsten Dunst is amazing. And it's like, Nick Offerman is the president.
Yeah.
And I also believe that people who have been complaining about its politics, I think that if you watch it closely enough, there's not any mystery about what the politics are here.
Yeah, I've kind of heard that about it. Like some people complain it's not like overtly political enough, and then others, they say it's like shrouded, but I don't. It doesn't sound like it is.
I mean, it's obvious that the situation that started this was somebody trying, Nick Offerman, who looks like who's doing a Trump impression, basically,
Mm-hmm.
Trying, staying on in a third term, and that's what kicks off
the
war. I mean, it's there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You just have to like pay attention to the details because it's not blatant. It's like that's in the background. Nobody talks about that because everybody knows how the damn war started.
Yeah. Right. And more interested in what's it like to people.
Yeah.
It's interesting you bring that up. Well, on our episode we recorded prior to you being on, we were talking about a movie and reading some reviews from it that people clearly didn't understand what the movie was trying to do and therefore hated it. But if you look at it through the lens of what you know it's attempting to accomplish, it's actually a fantastic movie. And that really does make a difference when you're watching a film, conceptualizing what they were trying to do with it.
And when I write reviews, I have to take that into consideration, I feel like, because the number for what I do, I'm writing for a big city alternative weekly, or at least a medium city alternative weekly.
Yeah.
Right. And I have to answer, if somebody's reading my review, the first question on their mind is, should I go see this movie or not?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I have to answer that for them somewhere in the story. So it's like, if for example, I'm not a real big fan of Westerns.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm reviewing a Western, my question is this a well-made Western? And is this the kind of thing you would like if you like this kind of thing? And so this is good because it keeps me from just like wallowing in theory for 1,000 words.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Too.
That's, I think actually I probably mentioned it on our Split Second episode that Roger Ebert had a line about how he's reviewing how a movie is. He isn't reviewing what a movie is about, but how it's about it. And like, you just have to take in, like, you can't expect a $10 million sci-fi movie from 1992 with completely different intentions. You can't compare it directly to Citizen Kane. You can say, this is not as good as Citizen Kane, but you can say, this is a rollicking, entertaining time, and, they're shooting at entirely different fucking targets.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are. And they're trying to do, different things. You can always, though, the worst thing is to be boring. You can, you can do anything but boring.
Yeah.
As far as
I agree. The First Omen, first half of it was incredibly boring, which is probably why I didn't like it that much.
And boring doesn't even have to mean fast or with lots of plot or whatever. There's a whole slow cinema movement, which is not boring. You just got to it's meditated. You just got to get in the filmmakers like rhythms.
Yeah.
Well, many people would argue that Blade Runner is boring. I mean, I've heard that lots of times over my life.
Speaking of getting into a director's rhythms, because once you are in it, I understand if you think Blade Runner is boring, but because it's not like reaching out and grabbing you, it's like inviting you in. If that makes any sense,
I actually I used the 4-day break between recordings to expand my knowledge a little bit more, and I watched some more of the special features and things like that. I'm at this point completely out of my mind. I also rewatched 2049 just for shits and giggles because I figured it might come up.
Yeah.
But
I have not been watching that since we started this because I know we're going to watch it for this eventually, and it's literally my favorite movie. So it makes me sad. I should just watch it and just give up.
Probably should.
Well, let's do it. Let's talk. Where were we?
Yeah, where were we, Josh? Where did we leave off?
Let's see. Where's my notes? There they are. Okay, so we had just gotten to Deckard's apartment with all the cool Frank Lloyd Wright Aztec patterns on the walls, and Rachel was there. And
with her hair that fucks.
Yes, with her hair that is an entire sexuality.
And we talked about the sex scene, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she's trying to convince him and her that she's real, but he knows all her memories, etc. Now, one thing that I noticed, I also watched I also watched Blade Runner again. I realized as I hit this point, I don't remember if we ever actually discussed on the podcast what replicants are or why Deckard is hunting them. Because we're bad at this.
Everybody knows.
Okay. I'm willing to accept.
You read the crawl, I believe, word for word. That's all anybody needs to know.
Yeah. Okay. Good point. All right. Fair enough.
Well, so they're not entirely like robots, like a fembot from
Austin Powers.
Austin Power, right? Like they have biological components.
Yeah.
Right.
They are mostly biological, I believe, but extra human, apparently.
More human than human.
I mean, they can't be totally biological. He's sticking his hands in like liquid nitrogen and stuff. So, like, even fake skin can't stand up to that. I don't know. It's a
make 'em up.
It's a make 'em up.
Yeah.
But yeah, do they have? I was always under the impression that they had, like, for lack of a better term, computer brains.
I mean, that's at least how it was set up initially for the movie. Because originally, spoiler alert, people, when Roy kills Tyrell, they had this whole thing set up to where it was going to be a fake head and it was going to be full of like basically the same android goo and like springs and computer chips and shit that were in Ash's head in Alien. But then there was going to be a thing where he goes into another room and the Tyrell Corporation finds this sarcophagus and Tyrell's been dead for 5 years or something. So the fake Tyrell was a replicant just to keep stock prices up. Doesn't matter. They ditched that. So theoretically, they were supposed to be much more inhuman than they seem in the final version of the movie. Or, I don't know.
It's one of those things where whatever you think is probably the right way, right?
Yeah, I don't give a shit. I mean, like it's, if somebody wants to write a book about assembling replicants, then great, I'm there for it.
I mean, it's hard not to think about 2049 because you actually get to watch them being birthed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ryan Gosling does a lot of bleeding from the head. So, but you can't really factor that in because it's a sequel made 40 years later. So,
yeah.
So I guess they're really closer to clones than they are closer to like C-3PO.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how I've always just read it, and I don't know.
Maybe they have a mostly organic brain with like just a chip in there that's like their soul, for lack of a better, or maybe like a little disc. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Going back to a previous episode.
They got a little spinny HDD up there.
Yeah. You got to worry when they start clicking.
Yeah. You got to blow in the slot once in a while.
Man, I think mine. I think mine started clicking a long time ago, guys.
Here, let me jam a straightened out paper clip into that little hole behind your ear and pop it out.
That's what it's there for, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay, so. Deckard is super rude to Rachel. Just a complete fucking asshole.
Yeah.
And then passes out because it's been a long day. So then we go to Pris walking down the street, and it is a beautiful Blade Runner street covered with trash and just garbage fucking everywhere.
And Pris looks like a sexy nightmare.
Yes. Yeah.
She looks horrifying.
Yeah, she's.
I love Pris. She's and Daryl Hannah is absolutely perfect.
She's fantastic.
Oh yeah, and this is like her third movie or something. It's like the first time she was ever in anything big. I mean,
yeah.
It's so yeah. We meet Pris. She's walking down the street. Then she like sits down and covers herself with some garbage. And we see, of course, going across the sky, the Visit Off-World blimp, and she looks kind of longingly at it, which is interesting for a character who's gone to so much trouble to get here, not off-world. But that's just me. That's just me probably giving more weight to, whatever. than it deserves. So then a little truck pulls up, and it's J.F. Sebastian, who is played by William Sanderson, who you might know as E.B. Farnham on Deadwood.
So great.
He's got two brothers on Newhart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's Larry. He was Larry on Newhart, right?
Yes, I couldn't remember if it was Larry.
Daryl or the other Daryl.
Yeah.
Larry, Daryl, and Daryl, yeah.
Yeah.
E.B. Farnham is one of my favorite TV characters of all time. He's such a little weasel. I love him so much.
Why wouldn't he be? He's amazing. So JF arrives where Pris is hiding in garbage. She fakes being startled by him and takes off and like bounces off his truck. And apparently that wasn't entirely an accident. Her arm goes right through the window.
Yeah, I saw that when it happened. It looks real.
Yeah, it was. She has a gnarly scar to this day and a bunch of glass chips in it.
Oh shit!
But
wow.
There's on the some of the special features. She's like showing her scar. Like,
oh wow,
that wasn't supposed to happen. I was just supposed to kind of bounce off of it and fall. It is super impressive though, because knowing that before I watched it the last time, like there's no cut there or anything. There's a cut on her arm, but there's no cut. She gets up, bangs into the fucking truck, busts her arm through, then like turns around, and there's about 15-20 seconds of conversation with JF while she has just fucked up her arm royally.
Yeah.
So good on Daryl Hannah for sticking with it. So basically it turns out that Pris is an orphan who has nowhere to go and no food or anything, and she's real hungry. And it turns out that JF's a really nice guy, and he invites her upstairs. She does have some friends that she'll contact tomorrow.
JF's got friends too.
Yes, that is exactly the next line I was leading to.
Real fucking creepy ones.
JF has friends. He made them. They're my friends. And they are very distressing. It's a bunch of little people dressed up like, I don't know, Napoleonic soldiers and teddy bears
and ballerinas.
It's pretty upsetting.
Yeah.
It's like the Nutcracker.
Yeah.
It was doing a Nutcracker production.
It very much.
You remember when I said that the Tyrell office was my favorite set in Blade Runner?
This is an incredible one.
This is my favorite set. I was wrong. This one.
You're probably right.
Especially that establishing shot where it just keeps going. Like it's like super deep, but there's like details everywhere.
Yeah.
It's, okay, I just like all the sets, but this one is my current short duration personal savior.
Yeah.
I totally like. Literally, just any scene, including like something that I should have mentioned at the beginning of the first episode, is that anytime I change what I'm talking about location-wise, assume that there was a good 5-second shot of the coolest street scene you've ever seen in your life.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the establishing shot, people don't linger on those anymore. That's one of that's one of my wife Laura's complaints about The Rise of Skywalker. One of the many complaints was it was like Star Wars movies are supposed to have these big, sweeping vistas.
Agreed.
And it was just like there's got to be that beat is important. And it was like there was none of that. It was just like bam, 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 and nothing made any fucking sense. But we're not talking about that movie. We're talking about Blade Runner.
Yes, we are.
We don't talk about that movie. We talk about that movie in my household.
In order to talk about that, I'd have to watch it again, and I really would rather not.
Yeah, don't get me started. We're not talking about that movie.
Yeah, I don't. No. Okay. Although
no.
Darth Vader, pretty cyberpunk.
Yeah, he's very cybered.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so number one, what is Sebastian's jacket trying to be? He appears to be dressed as, I don't know, a Tudor era mime or something. It's just all this weird quilted shit.
Yeah.
It's very bizarre. Anyway, he's a really nice guy. He's going to take her in. and he introduces her to all his friends. Okay, so the neat thing about this whole set and the Bradbury building, which is where they shot this, which is a building in LA, and it has been used in like hundreds and hundreds of TV shows and movies and stuff like that. It's like in the 70s and 60s, it was like every other lawyer's office on TV.
I've never been. It's on my list.
Yeah.
It's like one of the last things on my list of things to do in LA that I haven't done.
Yeah, I would love to go to it.
That and the Watts Towers is the other thing that I've never been to that's on my list for next time.
So you can reenact the end of what was that movie? John Lithgow's a Psycho. God damn it. Man.
Oh God, it's on the tip of my tongue. Yeah. Okay, anyways.
Did it have Lawrence Fishburne too?
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. That's not gonna help. So the thing is, it's a working office building. So what they had to do to shoot this shit is they get into the building at 6 o'clock every night. They fuck it up and spread trash everywhere. And then they have to be out at 6 a.m. the next day. And also, this was complicated by the fact that, as you might recall, we've mentioned before, it's raining in Blade Runner a lot. It's also raining inside the Bradbury.
Yeah.
So apparently they figured out the trick to this is they bought a whole bunch of ground cork. So they throw ground cork all over the place, which makes it look like fucking mud and dirt and shit. And it absorbs the water that they're pouring out of the skylight. So it makes cleanup a breeze.
Wow. Well, that's a good tip.
I know. I thought that's one of those genius things. You go like, yeah, smart. These guys are professionals.
Yeah.
So we've established anyway. Bradbury Building's beautiful. Lots of incredible ironwork, cool deco shit. I mean, it's great.
There's exterior like elevators too.
Yeah,
they're not exterior, but they're like exposed.
The big brass, hanging out in the middle.
We also establish as they're walking up that JF lives here alone, which is going to be important for the climax of the film.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, he's the only person in the building because real estate isn't exactly in high demand here.
Which is like the only time where the loneliness from the novel feels where it feels like the novel, because the rest of the time they're in crowded city streets, which the novel always stressed the solitude or the isolation of it.
I was actually thinking about that. The novel, thinking about the novel, there isn't much in terms of being on city streets.
True, there's not. There's hardly any.
There is a tiny, the only thing I can think of is the tiny bit where they go to, where he goes to
find Zora, right?
Yeah, find Zora at the museum, and they're on the streets for just, I don't know, it's like a page or something. The rest of it is all interior.
Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very, So, anyway. So, then we go over to Deckard. He's dicking around on a piano. And he also has maybe the most controversial thing about the film, which is a vision of a unicorn. Unless you only saw the theatrical cut, at which point you're going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because it was cut out. Everybody thinks this was an outtake.
Yeah, we talked about this last time. I remember that.
Yeah,
it was a test shot.
Yeah,
that he for
Legend.
Yeah. Well, that's the legend.
Yeah.
Anyways,
legend.
Yes.
He was so checked out by the end of his production that he was like burning budget to do test shots for his next movie.
Yeah. Yeah. And you see he's dicking around on the piano. He has this unicorn dream. And you notice that his piano is just covered with fucking photographs. And you especially notice that all the photographs are from 1910. They're all very fucking old shit. Mm-hmm. Which is arguably one of those clues that he's a replicant, depending on who you talk to. because Leon is also obsessed with getting his photographs, and I don't know. It's
I feel like the biggest clue is the unicorn because of the end, but
but I don't know. There's
we've already pretty much decided we're not going to debate that.
Yeah,
believe what you want.
I think the question is Deckard a replicant is an interesting one. I think any answer to that is maybe the most boring thing in the world.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because that was also the tension for Dick.
Yeah,
It was like, his personally not sure if he was real or not, if that makes any sense. There's a sense of autobiography because he keeps coming back to that over and over again. That sense of dissociation.
Yeah.
In all of his writings.
That's like the entire point of Valak, for God's sake.
Yeah, really. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So then we get maybe after he dicks around on the piano and has a few drinks, and has a unicorn vision. He has an idea, and we get maybe one of the most culturally significant contributions of this film, and that is Deckard enhancing a photo.
I know, that's what I was thinking of when it was coming. I was telling my wife, like, all right, you're going to see the birth of something.
Yeah. It's almost impossible to imagine it, but prior to this film, this did not exist, and now it is everywhere all the time.
So much so that it's actually become a meme as well.
Yeah. Enhance. So he enhances one of the photos he got from Leon's apartment, and goes through like this whole thing, and he's thinking about Leon's apartment, and he notices in the photo there's a like way deep in the background there's a woman with a snake tattoo on the side of her face.
Yeah, this picture had about 10 gajillion megapixels.
Yeah. It had about 10 gajillion megapixels and was actually taken from about 7 angles at the same time.
Right,
Yeah, can't he like see around corners?
Yeah, he around a wall.
Yeah, it's rotate 90 degrees. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but it's
cool and sci-fi.
Yeah, it's super cool. So he's like, oh yeah, we picked up a thing in the bathtub at Leon's, and he's looking at it, it's like, maybe this is a scale. So he goes to the animal market, and we see another fucking wicked ass street scene. I mean, just fucking neon and all sorts of people wandering around doing
even more wicked because
ever.
There's so many wild animals just being walked around. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's very fucking cool. And he gets this thing from Leon's bathtub identified, and it's a snake. He goes to a artificial snake manufacturer. Oh yeah, it's a scale, and it has a serial number on it. So he goes to the manufacturer of the snake.
On a cellular level. I always thought that was super cool when I was younger. That they could.
People actually do that now, right?
Yeah.
Do they? That's
like crops. Monsanto does it. They encode serial numbers in the genetics of their...
We really are in the future, guys.
Yeah, it's no good. I hate it.
Not a fan either.
So, and actually, in the scenes where they're doing the electron microscope zooming in to see like the serial number on the scale and shit, apparently that's marijuana leaf.
Oh no!
Under an electron microscope.
Naturally.
Yeah, because Harrison's in it.
Yeah.
Ridley was like, "You got anything to put under the microscope, Harrison?"
Oh yeah, I do.
Fishes through his pockets.
Yeah. So we go to the snake dealer. Interestingly enough, the snake dealer guy, Abdul bin Hassan, is completely unidentified and not credited in. He's credited in one version of the movie, but it's the wrong guy.
Huh. He doesn't have a speaking role. He just kind of happens behind a window, doesn't it?
Yeah, but you can hear it. I mean, it's kind of a digitized thing. That's actually one of the things they fixed in the final cut, because there's dialogue there, and they're talking behind this window, but they are clearly not. Their mouths don't match anything resembling the lines, like up to the point where there's like 3 sentences that Harrison Ford is like his mouth is moving, but Bin Hassan is saying words.
Oh, gotcha.
So for the final cut, what they did is they got Harrison Ford's son, and they
I believe his name is Ford Escort.
Sadly, no. I think it's Ben Ford.
Okay. Ford Ranger.
They got Harrison Ford's son and brought him in. And Harrison Ford's son is the same age that Ford was when Blade Runner came out. And they digitally inserted his chin and mouth.
Oh, wow.
Over.
This is annoying, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Impressive, but annoying.
Honestly, I was watching it after the fact, and I'm like, yeah, I can't see a goddamn thing. I mean, I don't know if it was worth it to spend the money, because it was undoubtedly $5 billion, but
and like 8 seconds.
Mm-hmm. But it was neat.
Yeah.
So, he gets the info about where this guy sold the snake. So he's going to go to a really cool fucking bar. It's like the bar at the beginning of Temple of Doom. Just a real 1930s.
And that it's a bar with Harrison Ford in it?
Yeah. It's very 1930s lighting and stuff like that.
I love the Temple of Doom is a wildly uneven film.
Yeah.
But the opening sequence with Anything Goes in Chinese is one of my favorite things that Spielberg has done in his entire career.
Oh, I think it's amazing. And
it was my first Indiana Jones movie, and it's always been my favorite, although I can recognize its problems as a grown up. I just love it so much. I can't help it.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's like I can't say it's the highest quality Indiana Jones movie on any, solid metric.
No, and I could back that up.
But I totally get it's a super fun movie. And just that Shanghai in the 30s, how can you go wrong? Like a gong rolls. What do you want?
It's just a great vibe.
Yeah. So Deckard, so he's in this bar and he talks to the owner, and apparently the owner is the only actor Ridley Scott has ever been happy with. The character's name is Taffy Lewis, and apparently he was one take in and out.
Good for him.
Which is shocking.
One take Taffy, that's what they called him.
Yeah. But basically, Deckard vaguely threatens him, and he's like, "The man's dry. Get him a drink." And Deckard's like, "All right, that means I drink free all night. I'm going to go call Rachel and see if I can get her down here to drink free too."
Yeah. An opportunist.
Yeah. They do a cool futuristic video call, and she's like, "Nah, I don't think I want to go to a Shanghai strip club in Sector 4.
The video call is very cool. I don't want to undersell it. It's like that's what I picture every time anybody called anybody in any of our Shadowrun games. Yeah, it was pretty much that.
And then we get one of my absolute favorite voiceovers in not voiceover, but sort of PA coming from off screen in any movie ever, where you hear the announcer talking about the next act that's coming to the stage. And he says, "Oh, watch her take the pleasure from the serpent that once corrupted man."
That's a good line. It's a good way to introduce a stripper for sure.
Yeah. The greatest stripper intro ever.
Yeah. Like, what do you do from there? And apparently they had initially they had a whole storyboarded out thing that sounds like it would have been super cool. But before they ever started shooting, Ridley was like, "Okay, this is going to be a great scene, and I would love to shoot this, but the movie is going to grind to a halt as we watch a woman we've never met before dance with a snake for 5 minutes."
Well, that didn't slow down the guys who made From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, well,
picked up where Ridley left off, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. They made the right choices.
Yeah. So, yes, High Tech Low Life alum Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, that's true.
So we don't see any of the act, although we would love to. Deckard is We see a little of him seeing the act, and he's got a couple of wide-eyed moments.
Oh, this is where I want to point out. This is the first of many times that Deckard sticks his whole ass fingers in his mouth.
Uh-huh. Yes, that's
like
true.
4 times.
Yeah, there's
like
something in his
knuckles deep
drink.
in his own mouth.
I don't. Yeah,
It's just weird that it happens 3 times.
Yeah, it's like there was a lemon seed or something.
I think it was a tequila worm, but
could be. Yeah,
mezcal.
Yeah,
whichever one has the worm.
It could be either. Depends on. Typically mezcal. Doesn't matter. So then we cut to the end of the act, and Deckard is backstage, and he's playing a total dork. He apparently had more than one drink while watching the act, I think, and he decides that the best move to talk to this Zora person who owns the snake is to act like a high school dweeb who gets sand kicked in his face in a Charles Atlas comic book ad or something. Like it's just such a stereotypical dork voice. He's saying he's from the union and for variety performers, and there have been some complaints about unethical and lewd acts.
It is a strange moment of comedy in a movie that doesn't have any comedy anywhere else.
Really. I would disagree. I think this movie has more comedy than most people, but it's the most blatant comedy in the film by a million miles.
Yeah.
I mean, and then like he gives this whole spiel, and the most comedic part about it is the fact that like halfway through he loses it for a line or two. He like forgets that he's in character as the dork because she responds to a question, and he doesn't immediately have a response for that. So he slips back into normal Deckard voice for like 2 lines, and then he's back into nerd voice. And he talks about how you'd be surprised what a guy would go through to get a glimpse of a beautiful body.
Yeah. As she's getting naked to take a shower.
Yeah. And she says, which with incredible line delivery, "Nah, I wouldn't." He's talking about sometimes they drill dirty little holes to look through and see a woman undress. And then she whips his ass because she knows something's up.
Well, she never buys it.
No.
I think this is a weird scene. The dynamic here is really weird because does he think that is this a serious attempt by him to like be undercover for a second, or not? Because he's really bad at it.
He's deeply bad at it.
I'm curious what his end game was, because he's not gonna test her. He doesn't have his test briefcase. Is he just looking for some indication that she's who he's looking for, and then he's I don't know.
I think at this point he doesn't know, like he doesn't have any reason to suspect that she specifically is one of the replicants.
Right. He just knows that she has the snake that they found.
Yeah, she's somehow connected to this, so wants to get information out of her.
But then when she attacked, I mean, he really assumes a lot when he does what he eventually does.
He's not a good detective.
No, but he's a great cop. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
as cops go.
I mean, and hey, we're gonna see it in like one scene where he just blasts a woman in the back.
Yep,
totally unarmed woman.
Whose only crime was punching a pervert in the throat.
Yeah.
And so, yes, so what, she flees and then through the streets and then crashes through a shop window.
Couple of windows, yeah.
Or like a series of shop windows, kind of.
Yeah.
And wasn't that like a super late reshoot?
Yes.
Do I remember that right?
That was at the very end. It was like it was like at the very end of reshoots, and they didn't have literally any money, and they couldn't send Joanna Cassidy, the actress who plays Zora, through the windows, because even if it was sugar glass, to have sugar glass sheets that big, because they're big like door-sized pieces of glass, they have to be like 3/8 or a 1/2 inch thick. And you can still get fucked up on sugar glass. So they like just didn't know what they were doing and scheduled shit all wrong. And they literally like sent somebody to a wig store down, like a Halloween store down the street, and bought a wig for this stunt woman, which is why in like all the cuts up until all the different versions up until the final cut, it is plainly obvious that Joanna Cassidy has never been near that actress because she's wearing her hair is like entirely different and a totally different color. It's one of the most obvious stunt woman, like one of the most obvious stuntman inserts ever.
Maybe I'm a fucking idiot, but I had no idea and didn't notice that at all.
Well, in the final cut, this is another, they spent, however many $1 million. They called Joanna Cassidy. Actually, she suggested it. Like, hey, if you're putting together a special edition thing, there's got to be a way to like stick my head on the stunt woman's body. So there's some footage of them shooting her, and like they've got this set up to where the camera is tracking to where her head would move and stuff. And yeah, it's fucking super impressive how they did it. I mean, so in the version you saw on Amazon, it's her.
Well, I also want to point out that this scene is really, I mean, I didn't know all that. I just watched the Amazon scene, and I'd seen it before. Maybe I'd clocked it in the past, but we didn't mention like her outfit, which is kind of Blade Runner iconic, like the metal bikini thing with the
kind
clear
of a slave
raincoat.
Leia. Yeah, kind of a slave Leia metal bikini with a clear raincoat over it.
It's one of the most memorable costumes in the movie to me, anyway. Not just because I was a horny teen, but just beyond that, it's a memorable costume. And then the crash through the glass in slow motion. She goes through it feels like she goes through 20 panes of glass. And the music slows, and you feel like, oh shit, he's straight up murdering this person.
Yeah, this is the point at which you go, oh, Deckard is just a murder guy, huh?
Yeah, he's a murder man whose job is murder.
Yeah,
exactly. It subverts what you're supposed to feel here. Traditionally in an American movie where it's just, where the cowboy just kills the Indian or the cop just kills the gangster. It's like, there's a reason that in the old days that there was never any like people got shot and they just fell down and there was never any blood or like visible wounds, but that's not what this is. It's like,
no,
they linger on the results of the violence.
Yeah. It's really some beautiful and, upsetting shots, like just this medium shot of her lying dead, covered in blood, with her face against a piece of shattered glass.
And like she was likable in that scene.
Yeah,
I mean, there was nothing like Roy Batty's creepy and Pris gets real evil looking at times, but Zora, you feel really bad for her.
But as you might recall,
Zora's just an honest stripper. She's just an honest stripper trying to make some money, But she's a good immigrant.
Yeah.
You might. Oh God. Hey, remember what M. Emmett Walsh said at the beginning? She led a kick murder squad off world.
That's true.
So they're not sending their best.
Oh,
I mean, they're sending their best at murder.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. And what happens to them? They get murdered.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
But if she's a toaster, then it's not murder, right?
Yeah.
Which is the whole question of the film.
Is she a murder toaster?
If she's a murder toaster. Is she the murder bot? Or, if she's a toaster, if Rachel is a toaster, then it's not rape. If she's a toaster, then it's not murder. But it sure does look like those things, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does seem like it. Huh, weird. I wonder if we're going to get into some ethical issues with this movie.
Yeah, perhaps.
Perhaps Ridley wanted us to think about these things. So we go through some cops cleaning up, kind of Deckard giving his badge number and like, no, it's cool. I'm allowed to murder people.
Yeah. Which they instantly accept it and send him on his way.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah. Well,
all right. See you later. Good luck with the murdering.
Right. Well,
that's one thing. This movie,
living in Memphis, this feels living in Memphis. This feels entirely accurate to my the current situation here.
The movie does.
Don't you go murdering people? Don't need murdering now.
Yeah.
Like Emmett Walsh said in the beginning, if you ain't cops, you're little people. Like you feel that here, then in a few scenes when Deckard's on a stakeout and the cops approach him all hostile, he proves he's a cop, and they're like, "Okay, have a nice night."
Yeah,
like they make that very clear in this film.
This movie has a very clear view of police and who they are and what they do, and I don't think a lot of people were expecting that or notice it really, but I feel like subliminally.
But it's entirely, it's entirely in line with the noir origins.
Yeah, I mean the cops are the fucking enemy.
That's the cops are. How does Marlowe in The Big Sleep? How does he like? That's his attitude towards cops.
Yeah, it's the same way with Sam Spade. And, I mean, it's just you guys suck at your jobs. You're fucking corrupt.
That's why I'm here.
You. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Get out of my way.
Right. Your failures are why I have a job.
Yeah.
So
let's move on because my favorite scene's coming up.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we see in the aftermath of the shooting, we see a long shot of Leon, who has apparently arrived to pick up Zora from work across the street while Deckard is talking to some cops.
He does real good lurking in the shadows, creepy stare.
He really does, and it's honestly impressive because the scene is not, it's not lit in the way that you would expect. You're trying to draw the audience's attention to this dude.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, it's a shot from up on a crane or something, and he's relatively center of frame, but boy, you can Brian James just has a fucking physical presence in that overcoat. And you instantly know, oh, there's Leon. Okay.
Yeah.
So then Deckard tries to get a beer and I Sing Tao, and then Deckard pulls him Gaff pulls him into a car with Bryant. And there's a conversation about how, there's 4, you've only got 4 more, good job, you're a classic killer. And Deckard's like, no, there's 3 more, because I just killed one, and you told me there were 4. And Bryant says, no, remember that one you tested up at Tyrell? She disappeared. She took off. Apparently didn't even know she was a replicant. Something to do with memory implants. So you're going to have to kill her too. Don't worry about it. Anyway, good luck.
Doesn't matter. Go throw that toaster in the trash compactor too while you're at it.
Yeah. So Deckard gets out of the car and he thinks he sees Rachel in a beautiful fur coat. And he's trying to get it. He's not sure if he sees her or not. And he kind of walks past a trash truck, and then what I assume is Eric's favorite scene occurs. Eric, would you like to talk about it?
No, I just wanted to hear it recapped. I just love Leon, and I love this fight, and in particular, I love the when Deckard pulls his gun and Leon just slaps it away like it's a nuisance, and then all of Leon's quotes, like "Wake up, time to die" is my favorite. How long do I feel to live in fear?
Yeah. How long do I live?
Longer than you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Everything about the scene I love, except for Leon getting killed. But
Leon in every bit of this, Leon can dismantle him.
and Deckard's being this isn't his fight with Roy. He's being the clever I'm getting my ass kicked Deadpool thing.
Yeah,
long before that was a trope.
Yeah,
so it's a great scene.
It's a really good scene. Brian James does an amazing fucking job, and there are some great fucking lines in it. He's choking him against the hood of a car and says, painful to live in fear, isn't it?
Which is what Roy Batty says at the end, which I thought was interesting. Kind of a hint that they are kind of programmed similarly.
I mean, or they've had conversations about how being a slave is living
true.
in fear.
So is Roy Batty a revolutionary leader? Is Roy Batty the Che Guevara of replicants, off-world replicants?
I feel like a kind of.
I would love to see that fucking movie.
Oh yeah, the prequel.
Yeah,
I want to see it attack ships off the shoulder of Orion or whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
yeah, like the replicant rebellion.
Yeah,
God, yeah.
The Clone Wars. Anyway,
and then
thank you.
Yeah,
I liked it. I saw what you did there.
Yeah, that was nice.
I delivered it with no confidence.
Hey,
it was good.
Came across good. Yeah. And then he is just about to kill Deckard by gouging his eyes out and says, "Wake up, time to die."
Probably my favorite line from the film, if I had to pick.
That was my computer startup sound for the better part of a decade.
Yeah, it's a great line.
And then Rachel blows a hole in his head, and it is like, on the one hand, like, because it's a real good shot of just Deckard and Brian James is like 3/4 profile, and it's really interesting, the special effect they use for his head, just like, it's not an effect you see a lot. There's not like a giant fucking blood spray. It's just a really interesting fucking choice. How they, and there's not a single word about it in any of the special effects.
I don't even remember it other than it happening.
Yeah, it just like a chunk of his head, blows off, and then he falls down and dies.
Well, every time you shoot someone in the head, it looks a little different. So
yeah.
I'm told.
Yeah.
In my experience, I mean, certainly.
Yes. Yeah. So then, Rachel saved Deckard's life. They go back to Deckard's pad. She's in a wicked fucking fur. She's having a real rough time with having just blown a guy's head off.
The ethics of fur in our time is quite heated. I gotta imagine when animals, I'm sure it's faux fur, but when animals are endangered as they are, even faux fur you'd think would be a faux pas.
Faux pas?
I would think.
So he's making her a drink, and she's having a rough time, and he says, "Oh yeah, you get the shakes. It's, it happens, even to me, it's just part of the business." And she has an incredible line of, "I'm not in the business. I am the business."
True.
Which, and this is just another whole scene of you're staring at some of the most beautiful cinematography ever committed to film. I mean, just everything's in shadow. There are these lights moving outside the windows with the horizontal blinds.
Deckard's sticking his fingers in his mouth again.
Everything's like chiaroscuro. I mean, just the lighting in this scene is fucking incredible. It's like, this scene would look incredible even if you weren't in an intensely art decorated apartment. Like,
apparently cost $150,000.
Yeah. So yeah, Deckard's like washing his mouth out in the sink and stuff, and like pulling a tooth loose. And he and Rachel are having a talk, and Rachel says, "Have you ever taken the Voigtkampf?" But there's no answer because Deckard has fallen asleep. Ooh, maybe that's a hint? Huh?
Oh my god, dude. Did you see any similarity between this scene and the Split Second scene? You had to have. I know, I'm talking about Split Second a lot. The movie burrowed its way into my brain and won't come out. But this I think they ripped off. He falls asleep. She doesn't put a blanket on him like Kim Cattrall does in Split Second.
No, but she pulls his drink out of his head.
Yeah, she does a little something, caregiving, and
yeah.
Anyway, and then a pigeon lands on his head. Never mind.
Yeah, never mind. It's a weird movie. It's great. Highly recommend it, Chris. If you've never seen,
I'll check it out. I don't know. I've never seen it.
We recommended it last week many times. I just can't get it out of my head. I'm sorry. I watched it 2 weeks ago and it's just burrowed in there.
Yeah. So while Deckard's asleep, Rachel dicks with the piano because that's what you do when you're a guest in somebody's house and they've dozed off on the couch.
Yeah,
and
you
fuck
start
with their
banging
piano.
on the keys.
Yeah.
and then Deckard, oddly enough, wakes up, and she has a little bit about how I didn't know if I could play or not. I have memories of lessons, but I wasn't sure if that was me or Tyrell's niece, which is an interesting, question.
Yeah.
So.
And gets once again to the heart of it, which is, you are your memories.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's where your personality comes from.
Mm-hmm. So then we get a pretty aggressive fuck scene.
Yeah. Pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
okay. Yes. I'm sorry. I got confused because I thought it was earlier.
Oh yeah. No,
yeah.
This is pretty aggressive.
No, this is the actual. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's. This is the actual. Is it? This looks a lot like rape, but
it does. But or is it that early '80s aggressive man trope?
Yeah.
I
or
guess,
is she a toaster?
Yeah. I guess there's no way to really know without talking to Ridley.
Yeah. Well, and even I don't know.
That's the ambiguity of it, though.
Yeah.
That's what it's and it shares that with the book. When we talked about that I think last week, like the proof of are you human or not is do you have sex or not to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Right. But then the robots do that. The replicants can do that too.
Yeah.
But in the book version of this scene though, she seduces him. And it's very specific and she knows what she's doing and she's doing it to try and get him to see her as if not human, at least an equal and as worthy of life too. But that's not really what's going on here at all.
No,
in the movie.
There's no way you could interpret this scene as that. I mean,
right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a real weird, tonally it's real weird. And I don't know, it's one of those things where you don't know, it's impossible to figure out the intent behind it.
But when you think back to all those old noir movies, there was always like the man aggressively pushing the woman against the wall and kissing her, and the woman ended up being into it. Not that that's any reflection of reality.
That's a very 30s. That's a very 40s thing.
Yeah,
and the whole playing coy or pretending to say no.
Yeah, she can't ask for it. That would make her a slut.
Which is some gross patriarchal bullshit, but is something that was happening a lot in the past. Thankfully, not as much.
Yeah, exactly. So here, there's a whole nother level of it, is because it's also like, and then because here you interpret it as this is a human being, and look, for a Blade Runner, this is got to be super unprofessional, right?
Yeah,
it is definitely not holding with the professional code of ethics.
Yeah,
no, it's not, and especially because he knows he's going to have to kill her later, or he already knows this, So it's like, Deckard's not a good guy.
Yeah, no, he's not.
But also part of the movie is like the battle for the soul of Rick Deckard.
It is,
right?
Yeah.
Like,
so was the book, for that matter.
Yeah,
because in the book, this is the point where Deckard was like, "I'm not going to do this anymore." Yeah, basically.
Yes.
And maybe that's that's what movie Deckard is coming to. They just don't say it. Maybe that's when he makes his decision. Of course, he still goes down and hunts down Roy. So I don't know.
Yeah.
See, he did in the book too, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a tough call. Yeah. Just don't have aggressive sex scenes in movies anymore. Just go with that.
Well, there's a whole. This is just one really like layered scene. There's a lot of stuff going on here.
Yeah.
And maybe even more than the people who made it like intended.
Yeah,
really.
That's the thing. Like a minute ago, Eric, you said we'd have to ask Ridley, and my response to that is, I don't believe that Ridley necessarily has any point or has any, part in this. Like, he obviously shot the movie, and he's a great director. I've loved many, many Ridley Scott films, but I mean, I don't necessarily like, we have to live with a certain amount of death of the artist. Like, things go out into the world and they contain multitudes, whether or not the artist intended them or not.
True.
I mean,
yeah, exactly. Meaning is something that happens in the mind of the observer, in the mind of the audience.
The whole thing,
and as an artist myself, like, if I can get anything out of you, out of the audience, if I can get any kind of rise out of the audience, that's satisfying to me.
Yeah.
But rise, that's very simplistic. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I can elicit some sort of emotional response, if I can change you, I get a reaction. If I can change you, but I want to change you in a positive way. So I feel like the artist on their end, you have to, as an obligation, to game out and think about what are the bad interpretations of this that I'm not intending. And that's really hard to do sometimes.
Yeah.
But you need to do it because you need to craft the object to mean to give it all the hints and everything, to mean exactly what you want it to mean. But once you put it out in the world, it's over for you.
Yeah.
Right? Like now the object belongs to the audience, and they're going to make of it what they want to make of it, or what they do. It's your responsibility, I think, as an artist, to do your best to make it say what you want it to say. But once it gets out there, I mean, it's just out there, and people are gonna make of it what they want to make of it, or what they do make of it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And sometimes you fuck up.
Yeah.
And sometimes things take on a life of their own. Like Bowie there's a quote from Bowie in Moon Age Daydream. Which
I loved that. Yes, I loved that so much.
Love that movie so much.
Yeah.
Where he said, he pretty much comes out and says what Ziggy Stardust was. He was like, yeah, I self-consciously constructed this character out of like the myths of Apollo and Dionysius and Joseph Campbell's, interpretation of that, and made him an alien to make it like a modern space age
it's the late
spin
60s. Yeah.
Yeah. And people just sort of read a lot more into it than was really there.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm sorry. I get off on this tangent all the time.
No, that's fine.
No, I'm fucking into it. And by the way, shocking, no one on this podcast, David Bowie is going to come up later in my notes.
All right.
So
this is your Bowie foreshadowing here.
Yeah. So we have this aggressive fuck scene. It's open to interpretation, as we've just determined. And then we cut over to Pris deciding things that are going to make me horny 20 years in the future, where she's airbrushing her makeup on.
Yeah. Looks very cool.
Yes.
It's super cool. And we have a nice chat with JF, who's dozed off at his genetic, altering terminal, whatever.
This scene is so weird because the one toy in particular with the long nose, like and the little, he's looking
the kind of nutcracker looking guy.
He's looking like he's being tortured, like he's being held against his will, and his eyes are like darting back and forth, but none of the rest of his body is moving. Such an upsetting scene.
It's I have always found JF's toys to be pretty upsetting, just like conceptually, and they have done nothing but get more so as digital quality, as like, viewable media quality has improved in availability.
The better look you get at them, the creepier they are.
Yeah, it's real weird. Like not even just like the facial expressions and stuff that you can see on a Blu-ray, but like just the makeup details and things are it's very upsetting. I do not like them at all.
Yeah,
this is very much like also in keeping with the theme, because is the upsetting little nutcracker guy with the big nose. obviously not human, right?
Yeah.
Is he the same thing as Pris is? Because actually he is.
Yeah, but well, that's what the first time I watched this, I'm like, wow, we're not even getting asked the question about these guys, but it needs to be asked. Like, they're little creatures living a life ostensibly too. So who knows? It's
What kind of quality of life do these creatures have?
Yeah, it's real weird. So actually, we'll have maybe a little bit more on that in a second. So Roy arrives unannounced, which is interesting because we've seen every time somebody enters the apartment and continuing on into the finale of the movie, whenever anybody comes in the door, the toys say, "Welcome home, JF." And Roy is totally unannounced. He just shows up in the background in the apartment because Roy is the coolest thing ever. I don't know.
Maybe the toys don't recognize other replicants as human because they greet Deckard when he comes in later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But they don't greet Pris.
Yeah. So maybe that's a mark in the Deckard is human column.
Maybe. Yeah. So we find out a little bit more about JF. He has Methuselah syndrome, which is apparently a type of progeria or something.
Yeah.
So he ages prematurely, and he's 25 years old. We find out later.
Crazy.
Wouldn't Methuselah syndrome mean that you are supernaturally long-lived?
I would think so, but
maybe that happens too. You just look really old. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's like a reverse Benjamin Button or something. Or a normal person is a reverse Benjamin Button. I'm not sure.
That's true.
So anyway, he's got all this weird pancake makeup on. It's fucked up. It's, that's one of those things where if you look at clips on YouTube where it's like upscaled digitally, it's some horrifying looking shit.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes the digital upscale works fine, and sometimes it just really doesn't.
So we go through a little conversation where Roy is getting to know JF, and we find out the Methuselah syndrome thing, and that's why he can't emigrate.
Not a chicken head, notably.
Not a chicken head. And JF knows that they're special, and he's pretty sure their next is 6 because they're so perfect. And he mentioned specifically, and I'd never flagged this until watching the movie for the show. He says a line, "There's some of me in you," because he's a genetic designer.
Mm-hmm.
And it suddenly occurred to me that I wonder if part of what of him is in them is the Methuselah syndrome, the premature aging 4-year lifespan.
Oh,
could be.
Yeah.
That had never, I've seen this movie God knows how many times, and I had never fucking flagged that before.
That would explain why Tyrell can't fix it.
Yeah. Yeah. So he, they have a nice conversation, and then JF gets to be pretty fucking microaggressive offensive and says, "Show me something."
Yeah.
It's very much a, "Can I touch your hair?"
Yeah.
JF
sees unless they're toasters.
Yeah. JF
in which case it's fine. What do you think JF thinks?
See, that's I don't know. That's our conversation about his toys and the way he's just like, "Show me something."
I think he thinks they're toasters.
But
he's lonely enough he doesn't care.
Yeah. I mean, because the way the scene is done, and JF says that, and then Roy's like, "What do you mean? We're not computers. You don't just push a button and, get something." And I mean, it certainly implies that JF sees them as not fully people. I mean, because you don't ask a people to do that.
Yeah, I know
out
that
of nowhere.
The JF analog in the novel did not. He thought they were as good as human. Like, he didn't care. But this JF, I think, I think thinks they're just toasters.
Mm-hmm.
Although he's happy to live amongst toasters because he's just a lonely man.
Yeah.
Well, also, I interpreted his living situation as he made toys for himself, or maybe like these are rescues from failed
That's possible
experiments.
Yeah,
that was. I remember that being my first impression, but
that's
so
cool
he clearly has some. He clearly has some affection for, if nothing else, a craftsman's eye for these replicants.
Right.
I don't think that he thinks that they are human beings worthy of love.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, which is, and I think the thing is, I think we're digging into this way deeper than most people ever do, because I mean, I don't know if I would have come up with those thoughts, 5 watches in.
Well, that's our job.
Yeah, exactly.
That's our job here.
Yeah, I want to commend us for that.
We're so good at this.
Because on the surface, watch 1, JF is he's seemingly the most pleasant and innocuous character in the movie.
Other than maybe like Rachel.
So I don't know, fun times. Anyway, so we determined that this is all a plot because Roy wants to go see Tyrell. Weird, right? And he knows JF can get him in, and Chris is going to die soon if we don't get our lifespans extended. And JF, he just doesn't know anything. He's a real hick. That's more Mr. Tyrell's department. So why don't we go see Mr. Tyrell? And then we get...
It's such good shit because Roy is being like nice with this horrible undercurrent, this malevolent undercurrent, and Pris is doing like this sexy baby thing, but also creepy sexy baby,
also deeply threatening.
Yeah,
like if Eon Flux was a sexy baby,
and JR is clocking all of it. It's a good. I like the interaction.
It really is, and I think the rest of this movie, we're gonna there is a lot of time where we can just go on and on about Rutger Hauer's performance.
Yeah, we don't have time to do that.
I agree, but
this would be the 3rd episode in a row that we've done it.
Yeah. But the way he plays...
Real quick, I put out a tweet the other day after this movie and Split Second. I want to do a podcast called How Did This Get Made, where we just watch all of Rutger Hauer's movies and talk.
Hobo with his shotgun.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be on the list.
But the way he plays fucking Roy, from especially this point out where we get some longer scenes with him, he is vacillating like moment to moment between like childlike joy and a huge threat, like a world-ending threat, and like the wrath of God and
deep sadness.
Why won't you love me? And deep sadness. And it's like line to line, he is varying that shit, and it works.
It's a very inhuman performance. Like it
really is.
It makes him not feel human.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, you also have to remember, Roy's playing a 4-year-old.
I know.
He has a 4-year-old's control over his emotions.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's so good.
But also, the way he plays JR implies that he is a very sophisticated.
Oh yeah,
sense he's because of emotional manipulation. So he has a very like rich inner life. He in a high emotional intelligence.
Clearly,
let's say it like that. But then he's not. He's a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. Anytime.
It's a deeply fascinating character.
Absolutely.
It really is. And I mean, it's borderline offensive that he did not get at minimum a nomination for this.
Yeah.
This was 82.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll look it up.
Yeah,
Keep going.
you keep going.
So we go to the Tyrell Corporation. It's another one of those beautiful shots flying over hell.
Mm-hmm.
So the special effects on this movie are maybe some of the best ever done. I fully recommend the Dangerous Days documentary about the special effects. It's very in depth and worth it.
Unlike this podcast, sorry. No,
yes, exactly. So we get to the Tyrell Corporation, where we see Eldon Tyrell in bed. It's like the bed from 2001: A Space Odyssey at the end. It's actually modeled.
Oh, it kind of is.
Yeah, it's actually, which is what I always thought it was probably modeled on. It's not. Apparently, it's modeled on the Papal Apartments in Rome.
Oh, cool.
So, best supporting actor in 1982 was Louis Gossett Jr. for An Officer and a Gentleman, who we just lost.
Okay, yeah, that was a good performance.
First black person to ever win a supporting actor award. So, but he should have at least gotten nominated.
Yeah, I mean, Lou Gossett Jr., as I recall, it's been a long time since I saw it. As I recall, that's a good performance.
Toss our boy a nom.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
So he's like lying in bed with an iPad doing stock trading things.
Rich people shit.
Yeah, rich people shit. And there's one theme that you will run across over and over in both Ridley and his brother Tony Scott's movies. Rich people ain't shit. Fuck them. They are classic Northern English class warriors. So JF talks himself and Roy into the apartment with some chess moves because they have an ongoing chess game. And
I love this. I love this sequence too.
Yeah.
When, you've come up. Oh, you've had a breakthrough.
Yeah.
Like come up and see me.
Yeah, I already came all the way to Tyrell Corporation in the middle of the night, and now you're going to allow us to enter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Tyrell lives at work.
Yeah,
I guess so. When you have when your building's that big,
when you got yourself a pyramid, you got to live at the top, baby.
Yeah.
I can't argue with that.
I mean, whoever owns that pyramid in Memphis, they're sleeping at the tip.
I've slept in I did a story that was called 48 Hours in the Bass Pro Pyramid.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah, they kept trying to give me because I do travel writing sometimes, and they were trying to give me a 2 nights, and I was like, I don't want a free hotel room here. I live here. Yeah. But it was like, how can we make it good? And I was like, we'll for all the stuff that's in the pyramid, there's like 3 restaurants and a bowling alley and blah blah blah. And so yeah, I did 48 hours in the Bass Pro Pyramid. It was very creepy. Do not recommend at all. That's a whole other thing. You should. Yeah, that's a whole other thing. You should take it out of the final edit or whatever. Take some of it out. But I could go on at length about that. So let's keep going.
We've mentioned the pyramid. Anytime an Astronomica person comes on here, the pyramid comes up. So
yeah,
it's a running thing at this point.
Yeah.
Do you know about the crystal skull in the pyramid?
I do. Yes.
The story.
I don't think
it's real. It really happened.
Wow. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's way too long a story to go into right now.
Yeah.
I'll tell you later. It's a whole thing. Yeah.
Okay, so we get into Tyrell's apartment. JF and Roy arrive, and Tyrell immediately clocks that Roy is there and says basically, I'm surprised it's taken you this long.
Mm-hmm.
And Roy says, it's not an easy thing to meet your maker, which
another good line.
Yeah, like every line he delivers is a fucking great line. Everything is lit with candles. It's like fucking Barry Lyndon. It's cyberpunk deco Barry Lyndon.
Barry Lyndon. God, yes.
We have a nice conversation about genetics and genetic engineering and whether there are any answers to the 4-year lifespan that Roy was manufactured to have. And there are not. There's in the script, it clearly implies that Roy is really, really smart, and he has figured out all these potential answers, but all of these potential answers have failed experimentally.
Yeah, they've also been tried.
Yeah. And Roy's complaint remains, why did you manufacture me like this in the first place, father or fucker, depending on what version you hear?
Yeah, I heard father, but I always thought it was fucker.
It's actually both. Depending on the version, Ridley had him do it both as father and fucker, had two cuts, and blended them in the editing. So,
wow, that's weird.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's fun.
So this is the moment here, to me, that's also really crucial to the themes of the film, because and also to looking at it today and thinking about it today, because of the AI thing. So this is basically the problem of suffering. Why, if God is all good and all knowing and all powerful, does he allow us to suffer, or does he allow his creations to suffer when he knew that was going to happen when he created us like this kind of thing, right? And he, but the question of what's the line when we are creating artificial intelligences, to me, comes down to the problem of suffering as well. It's like, have we created something that can suffer? Because I feel like if we do go that far, then we have a responsibility to it.
Yeah.
Without, and then we have to give it rights to a certain extent, or at least think about it. Because it's like, and does Chat GPT suffer? I don't know. The AI that Google made asked for a lawyer. So that seems to, but also that to me is the line, though. Because there is no hard line. It's what is conscious and what is not conscious. It's a continuum. But if we can create things that can suffer, artificial life forms that can suffer, then we have a responsibility to them, and then we need to take them seriously as conscious beings. I think that's the line.
Yeah,
and that's very much what this scene is about.
I really like your thinking on that, and would like to subscribe to your newsletter. I mean, that comes off as snide, but I really do like you put that really well there. That also encompasses, like, there's a reason that I'm in my mid 40s and don't have any kids. Like, I don't feel like I have the right to do that to anybody.
Same.
Even a potential anybody. Yeah.
I'm not. I don't have kids either, but I'm not an anti-natalist. I just think that you have. But once again, it's the same thing. I'm going to create another being that can potentially suffer, and I need to make sure that I can take care of that being.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't feel like I am in a position, or have ever been in a position, to do as good a job as I would have liked to do.
Having a hard enough time taking care of this being.
Exactly.
Yeah, really. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But if you get but I'm not a complete anti-natalist like some people are. Like if you can, please have kids, go for it.
Sure, somebody's got
just be intentional about it. Yeah. And be responsible about it. I don't like. Anyways, but once again, this is also the themes of the film, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it is. Roy's very smart, but Tyrell has an answer for everything, and also Tyrell is very much going at this from what we would nowadays call a place of privilege. And
yes.
he does not see how any of this is a result of his actions. Like, it's impossible. Like, no, he makes replicants for off-world use, and they have 4-year lifespans, and that's how things are. And
yes, I manufactured slaves, living slaves.
Yeah.
To Tyrell is definitely on the toaster side.
Yeah, he's 100% on the toaster side.
I mean, he's very proud of his toasters, top of the line shit, but they are.
Man, they're good toasters. There's nobody's. The quality of your toasters is not a question here, Tyrell.
And he has, again, great fucking lines, like, the light that burns twice as bright burns half as long. Revel in your time.
Yeah, he delivers them really well too.
And like at points in this, Roy is attempting confession. Like he says, I have done questionable things.
Yeah, Roy's talking to God.
Yeah, Roy is
and this is not a question of faith where you have to like pretend, the fact that you don't know if God is there or not does not enter into it here.
Yeah.
He knows God's there. He's looking at him and God's saying, yeah, I'm God.
And he finds
fuck you.
He finds God extremely fucking wanting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he does what I would like to do to God sometimes.
Yeah.
How far along are you in Astronomica? Are you caught up in Astronomica?
Oh, I am.
I am caught up, but try not to spoil for listeners. But
pretty excited for how this last episode
I haven't
goes.
heard Wednesday's episode yet, so I'm not totally caught up.
Some exciting things related to this have popped up.
I guess I need to listen to Wednesday's episode.
Yeah.
Deicide is on the table.
Nice.
Okay, we'll just say that. Deicide is on the table right now.
Not the band Deicide, although if they were on the table, we would also be excited.
They would also be excited, yes.
Yeah. So Roy crushes God's head and gouges his eyes out. And then...
once again, destroying the eyes, which is another recurring visual motif.
The window to the soul.
Right.
That's what Leon was trying to do, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we get there's this shot of Roy in the elevator going down, and he's looking up at the stars, and just like watching his face in the elevator is masterclass in face acting. I mean, I don't know. It's incredible.
Rutger gives good face.
He does.
Well, I feel like here, and this is what the really greats can do, and I saw this with an actor one time, that in a short film that I made where she saw the take that we put in the final film, and afterwards she was like, I didn't know I was making those faces. She was like, it was, and I was like, no, it was perfect. I was like, you were inhabiting the character. That's where you need to be. I'm not thinking about, a great actor can control their body, can control every muscle in their face, can squeeze out a single tear.
Mm-hmm.
Which always just freaks me out when I see it.
Yeah.
But people can do it. But when the great ones, like, they don't know what they're doing. Yeah. They're so inhabited in the role that it's, their body's doing it for them.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing here. He is in the moment here.
Yeah. If you watch just that section, sure, I totally believe this is the face of a guy who just killed God. I mean, it's glee and terror and gloom, and it's
and also knows that he's doomed.
Yeah, yeah, he's. I mean, yeah, it's fucking great. So, we're into the final act.
Yeah.
So
we're going to do this thing. We're going to do this thing.
We're doing this. So Bryant gets an update.
Noting that JF was killed off screen.
Yeah, he was. Deckard gets an update from Bryant about about there were some killings at Tyrell. And JF Sebastian was a 25-year-old male killed with him, and his address is blah, blah, blah. So Deckard goes there and is understandably off-put by the toys.
Real quick, though, this is the scene I texted you at. When he's waiting outside and the cops try to stop him for loitering because this place is closed off, and he identifies himself and they let him go. That scene when that fucking cop car is hovering away looks so cool. And I don't know what they did digitally to it in the newest episode to make it looks so freaking real to me.
No, that's always looked perfect.
Yeah, I remember it always looking perfect.
Yeah,
I just loved the car.
Because it's a full-sized, it's like a full-sized
it's
spinner.
It's a like 20-foot long car on a fucking crane.
On a crane.
In pouring rain. Yeah.
And they're really... They got a rig of like pouring water on it. That's why it looks so good.
It looks so
real.
good, and there's smoke coming off the bottom. I was into that. Anyway,
yeah, it's fucking beautiful. And
while we're at it, by the way, the nominees for the 1982 Best Supporting Actor.
Okay.
John Lithgow for World According to Garp. Which, which
Okay.
I'm always down with.
Fair.
I'm always on Team Lithgow.
Yeah.
James Mason, legend, for the verdict. Robert Preston for Victor Victoria, which that was a really good performance.
Okay.
But here, this is Rutgers. This is our boy's plot here. Charles Durning as the governor of Texas in the best little whorehouse in Texas.
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was my first movie in a theater.
Wow. Well, he got our boy's spot.
Yeah,
So.
he would be I really like Charles Durning. I mean, that guy gives some great performances, but man, there's no way that performance.
This is a masterclass. This is this is as good. This is as good as Louis Gossett Jr.'s performance, but we got to give it to Gossett, I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
The history.
Yeah, I think that's one of those sure. I mean, I prefer Hauer, but I'm not going to scream at anybody.
Yeah.
Right, but
Hauer should have been in the audience with the camera on him, and then when Louis Gossett's name's announced, he does like a respectful nod, and
yeah.
I'm disappointed, but that it's a good performance and everybody's a good sport. That's what I like to see in the Oscars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So Deckard heads to JF's. He is deeply off-put by the toys. He's wandering around what the fuck's going on here? He's looking at all the toys, and Pris has disguised herself as a toy under a veil. She's just sitting very still.
I love that bit. I love that bit right there.
Yeah, very E.T.
Yeah, same the same month.
I know.
That is exactly what she does. She rushes out of the room. So
a bunch of Reese's Pieces. Anyway.
Yeah, everywhere. So Deckard's looking at her. He's like, "What the fuck is up with all these toys?" And then she kicks the shit out of him.
Yeah.
She gives him a solid kick and then does some fucking backflip shit and chokes him with her thighs and flips him over by his nostrils.
Yeah. She's a fucking berserker.
God,
yeah. And she and the whole time she knows she is going to die unless she kills this dude. And there's a little bit of a fight, and she takes off and then decides to do some gymnastics at him.
Big mistake.
Which is a mistake. You don't give somebody with a gun space.
Yeah.
And he shoots her a couple of times, and she dies thrashing and convulsing and trying to live and screaming. And it's
very upsetting.
It really is. It's very much this is not how people behave scene. It's not how people die, but it is a very upsetting and visceral, you can really tell, most of what she is screaming is effectively, no, I don't want to die.
All of the replicants' deaths are very emblematic of their personalities, I feel like, because Zora gets the almost dance slow motion death, and Leon, the only way to kill him is to surprise him.
Yeah. And the only way to hurt him is to kill him. So the only way to hurt him is to surprise him.
Then she goes out angry, and then Roy goes out philosophically. So it's interesting.
Spoilers
if you haven't seen Blade Runner before.
Yeah. So it's at this point that Roy arrives, or returns, I guess. Okay, so this scene, this sequence is kind of difficult to describe. There is a lot of monologuing from Roy, because there's a solid 14 minutes here where Deckard doesn't say a word.
Yeah. It's all Roy monologue and almost dance. The way he's moving through the scenes.
It really is. He Kool-Aids through some walls.
Which we foreshadowed 3 episodes ago, yes.
I mean, so Roy arrives, he sees that Pris is dead, he knows that somebody's here. It's a Blade Runner. And then engages in a one-sided philosophical conversation with him about whether or not Deckard is a good man, and like what he's done to get himself here, and breaks a couple of Deckard's fingers, one for Pris and one for Zora.
Leon?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if Deckard didn't kill Leon.
True, he didn't.
That was Rachel.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Replicant on replicant.
He also takes a nice pause to gently kiss Pris's corpse, and smear some blood on his face.
Also, the whole time his hand is going wonky.
Yeah, he's having some trouble with his hand seizing up. So
gotta stick a nail in that. Tetanus is the least of his worries right now.
This is what we call in the business gratuitous Christ imagery.
Yeah. He gives himself a little bit of stigmata. Don't worry about it.
But he is. Do you think that he is like in his death throes already? Like his time is so up that like
I think he knows.
Like he's dying naturally.
Yeah, he says
whatever.
He says as he's like looking out the window and his hand is seizing up, and he says, "Not yet."
Yeah,
and
he just wants to make his point.
Yeah, he really does. And
I just want to kick Harrison Ford's ass some more.
And the thing is, like, through this whole chase scene, like, Deckard's just stumbling the fuck around, and he's very bad at this.
Yeah.
He's not good at his job.
He's not. Choosing great.
He's the best.
Yeah.
See, like...
And Roy is running around howling like a fucking wolf, and just like it's the most he has taken off all his clothes except for some fucking bike shorts, and he is just running around fucking living.
We call that Axl Rosing it.
Yes. You have never seen a character living more fully than Roy does in like some of these, small scenes, just racing around and like borderline doing fucking cartwheels just with the joy of I am still here and I am doing a thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's really amazing, actually.
Yeah. He jams his head through a fucking wall just for shits and giggles, and is clearly just even reveling in the fact that he's alive and can feel pain when Deckard hits him with this big fucking pipe.
Yeah.
And like shoots him and just like creases above his ear. I mean, he's just so fucking alive. And Deckard spends the whole scene just in a panic trying to get away, understandably.
Yeah. I mean, it's some Terminator shit before Terminator.
It really is. Yeah. Mm. So Deckard like climbs out a fucking hole to the roof and almost dies repeatedly, like falling off the side of the building.
Climbing with two broken ass fingers, by the way.
Yeah,
like which they very specifically focus on many times. It's not like one of those things where he gets injured and then a few scenes later he's using the hand. Like no, he's struggling.
Yeah, he's trying to climb up to the roof from outside a window, and Rutger leans out another window and is just like having a fun conversation with him. He's like, that hurt. That was irrational of you, not to mention unsportsmanlike. Where are you going? and like he's just leaning out and like experiencing the rain on his face. And then like kind of like it's his performance in this last 20 minutes of the movie is so incredible. Just like you can see him. You can see him. He's just experiencing rain on his face. And then he suddenly remembers, wait, I got to kill this guy. Okay, bye. And jerks back in. He's like, okay, I'm going to go up to the window. Or I'm going to go up to the roof the other way.
Where does he get the dove?
Off the roof.
Because I didn't see him ever pick it up. He just had it all of a sudden.
He does. He picks it up on the roof of JF's building and then jumps across with it.
Okay. Maybe I looked away when he did that or something.
Yeah. It's a shortcut. It's a blink. So Deckard's up on the roof. Then Roy pops out a trapdoor like, hi. Deckard takes a leap for the roof next door, basically misses, just barely hanging on by one arm. And then he's just barely hanging on by his fingertips while Roy is just walking across the roof towards him, scoops up a white dove, as you do, and then just hops right across the roof, like right across the gap. And one of the things they mention in the behind the scenes stuff is that they had like 4 stuntmen fail to make that jump. And they kept, it was about 30 feet up off the ground, and they had a big airbag beneath it. And they had stuntmen just fucking missing the jump over and over again. And they were running out of light because it was like going to be dawn any fucking minute, because this movie is like 50 days of night shoots. And Rutger said, basically, because all the buildings in this section are on wheels, basically. And Rutger said, Can we get those like 6 inches closer? Because I think I can make it. and all the stuntmen were like wiped out at that point. And Ridley was like, I don't know, move it closer. Sure, let's see if he can do it. I mean, we got a big bag down there. It won't be a problem when he misses. And he just does this amazing hop. And one shot.
Makes it look easy.
Yeah, makes it look easy. And he gets on the roof opposite Deckard, and Deckard's hanging on by fingertips. And it really looks like he's going to gloat. Like, in a typical action movie setup, it looks like he's going to gloat, and then Deckard's going to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and make his way back up to the roof. And that's not what this is at all. I mean, it's really not what this is, and it's the best thing about the movie. And he delivers the line that it's quite an experience to live in fear, isn't it? That's what it is to be a slave. And then Deckard's fingers give way, and Rutger grabs him with his stigmatized, nailed-through hand by one arm and lifts him straight onto the roof and deposits him gently. Because remember how he asked if Deckard was the good man earlier? No, it's actually Roy that's the good man.
Sort of.
He saves him.
He does, but he did kill that poor eye maker.
Why?
Yeah. He wants.
Why does he save him now? Why does he save Roy now or why does he save Deckard now after he's been trying to kill him for the last 10 minutes of the movie?
I think it's that he realizes how close to death he is, and he just wants life to continue.
I think he wants somebody to see him die.
That too.
He doesn't want to die alone.
Yeah. And
yeah, I think that he has this revelation that life itself is, like in his final moments, that life itself is what's valuable.
Yeah, it's not just his life or his friend's life. It is life as a concept.
Right. And that changes Deckard.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
You can see it. And there's really good acting by Harrison Ford here too.
Yeah, there is. It's kind of overshadowed.
Yeah. But this last scene when Rain's pelting him in the face and he's watching Roy deliver his final lines, which I'm sure you're going to get to.
I thought I'd skip that part.
Okay.
Yeah. Why talk about that?
Yeah.
But Harrison Ford is absolutely selling the horror
and
sadness.
Locked in.
And,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he gets Deckard on the roof. He still has the dove in his left hand. He had Deckard in his right.
Yeah.
And then he goes ahead and settles down for a monologue. And he's one of the most beautiful people to ever live. Just dying in the rain. Mm. And he tries to explain himself. And do you just want to insert a clip here? I'm going to feel like an asshole if I just read it. Because as it turns out, I don't think I'm as good an actor as Rutger Hauer.
Yeah, I'll try to remember. I'm not guaranteeing I'll get a clip inserted, especially that clip.
Hey, look, I remembered. Have a little faith in yourself, man.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the 10-house gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain. Time to die.
Okay, so one of the fun things behind the scenes is this was like a 2-page speech.
Oh, really?
Originally in the script, yeah. And then in the big studio read through, Rutger Hauer, apparently when it got to this, looked at the writer in the face and smiled, and then gave this cut down version of 42 words, which, by the way, if you look up Tears in the Rain monologue, has its own Wikipedia article.
Oh, wow. Nice. That's how you know you've made it.
And I mean, like, stuff in this couple of sentences is from the original script, but so like the original scripted end ends with I watch sea beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhauser Gate, and then that's it. Like, that's when he dies.
Mm-hmm.
Rutger apparently at the table read improvised, or maybe he'd thought of it beforehand, all those moments lost in time like tears in the rain is all Rutger.
Yeah.
And then he dies.
Could have been a writer.
And somehow, which is the greatest, maybe the greatest magic trick any movie has ever pulled, somehow this movie fucking earns the villain releasing a white dove to fly away as he dies. And that is impossible. No movie can earn that. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
John Woo's head pokes out from the side of the screen.
Hey, wait a minute. I should do that.
Yeah, but
I like this thing.
How in the fuck does this movie earn that? It's impossible. Like, it's clearly the dumbest and silliest thing ever committed to film, but I have never once considered laughing at it.
Yeah.
No, it works. It's earned.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. That's what my poetry teacher would say. This is an earned line. You can be sentimental, for a little bit, but if you keep your thinking, strict and hard until you can earn that little bit of burst of sentimentality.
It's fucking amazing how this movie or any movie earns that. He's got a fucking nail in his hand and he's releasing a white dove. Like, what the? Nobody can earn that, but it does. Like, it earns every inch of it.
So the speech is always fascinated me.
Oh yeah.
And I had a actually it's a cyberpunk script that I wrote, a screenplay that I wrote several years ago. But I had a speech in the middle of that script that was like 6 pages long in the first draft, 6.5 pages long. But it was like, this is the reason why the main character is doing the thing he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, this is important. This is important. And my friend, my writer friend who was helping me with it, was reading and giving me notes, and he was like, yeah, this got to go.
Really?
Right. Yeah, the speech has got to go. And I was like, oh my God, it's like the core of the whole thing. I can't. And so I kept cutting it and I kept cutting it and I kept cutting like down, like, what do I need? What do I really need out of this? And it was just not getting, and I was like, okay, you know what? Like, this dramatically, this speech is supposed to do the same thing that the dagger speech in Macbeth does.
Yeah.
Is this the dagger I see before me? Like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is the choice I'm making.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I looked up the dagger speech. I was like, how long is the dagger speech? Dagger speech is 400 words.
Sure.
It's not long at all. And I had it in my head that it was like super long, but it's not. It's
because it's
super
heavy.
Short.
It's got a huge amount of weight. even if it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dense.
And this is
there's
the exact same way. It's
yeah.
Yeah.
He got it down to the absolute core. You know, if you want to make your writing better, make it shorter.
Yeah.
As we crest 2 hours.
Yes. I didn't say podcast. I didn't say podcast. I said you're writing. But you should absolutely cut a bunch of this shit out.
I probably won't, honestly.
Yeah.
It'll just make it better. It'll just make it better.
I know, but yeah.
Yeah, this is
you have to experience the psychic violence of creation.
I know.
You have to face the psychic violence of creation and take a bunch of this crap out. It's just crap. Okay, keep going.
Okay, so yeah, this is one of the great speeches in film. I mean, you know, even beyond science fiction. Eric, thoughts?
No, I think we've covered it.
It implies not just a whole backstory before this, but entire separate films before this.
Yeah, I would love I'm honestly surprised. And I haven't watched any of the Blade Runner animated stuff that's come out fairly recently, but surprised there hasn't been spinoffs because based off of this speech.
There is actually a sidequel to this movie. David Peoples, one of the writers, also wrote a little movie called Soldier 25 odd years ago, starring Kurt Russell. And the main character, Kurt Russell, in that movie is a veteran of the Battle of Tannhauser Gate, and there's a bunch of like Blade Runner adjacent shit in it.
Is that a movie we'll be covering at some point? Is it?
I mean, probably. It's got Kurt Russell, and we love Kurt Russell, and it's vaguely cyberpunky. I mean, you know, what are you going to do? So yeah, Roy dies. It's incredibly beautiful. A dove flies off into the cyberpunk sky.
And Deckard breathes a sigh of rainy relief.
Yeah. And then Gaff arrives to be a fucking dick again.
Mm-hmm. Gaff's always popping up right after Deckard witnesses a death.
Yeah, Gaff's on the spot.
Where is he? Where was Gaff when Deckard was getting his ass kicked?
Good question.
Watching Deckard get his ass kicked 10 minutes ago.
Gaff watches. He doesn't get involved.
Asshole.
Yeah.
You might get his suit messy.
Yeah. So he tosses Deckard's gun to him, which he had battered out of his hand for like, I don't know what, the fourth time in the movie.
Yeah.
Earlier by Roy.
He needs to like get a wrist strap or something for that thing.
Yeah, it really needs a lanyard. And he's headed back to his spinner and says, it's too bad she won't live, but then again, who does?
It's a good line. One of my faves.
Which is, honestly, I think it's by a huge margin the movie, or the line I think the movie should end on.
Yeah.
Even though it sort of does, but it doesn't.
They repeat it later, right?
Yeah. And then Deckard gets back to his apartment. He's apparently had a little medical treatment because his fingers are bound up in a nice white bandage.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel's there. She's asleep. They got to run now because she's going to be hunted.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go to leave the apartment, and Rachel almost steps on a small origami unicorn in the hallway. Yeah. And here's our ambiguity. Does Gaff know that Deckard dreamed of a unicorn because Deckard is a replicant and Gaff knows knows his memories? Or is it symbolic of like the quest for life? Because remember, we don't know. Rachel might or might not have that 4-year lifespan.
Yeah.
And maybe the unicorn is just a symbol of hope across all people, including the fake ones, like including toasters.
Yeah. Who knows?
And it could be a message from Gaff saying, I was here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come back and kill you.
It could also be a message from Gaff saying, if you guys want to go poly with this thing, I'm the perfect third
I
party.
am a unicorn.
I'm the unicorn.
Yeah.
I won't cause any problems, but I will be a good
Dream polycule here. Harrison Ford Edward James Olmos and Sean Young.
I mean, I can't think of anything better.
Yeah. Dream polycule.
And then, depending on the version of the movie you watch, they might have driven off into the North Woods as an outtake from The Shining. But really, I prefer it when just the elevator door closes with Deckard and Rachel.
It does do the voiceover again, because that's the perfect line to end a movie on.
It is, and I think it's a perfect line to end a movie on, and I think you could have just ended the movie you could have just had the last line be 3.5 minutes earlier.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's me.
But
that's the end of the movie, guys.
Yeah, we're done. We did it. Yay.
Wow, we made it.
We made it.
We Blade Runner.
And as promised, here is your David Bowie minute. Number 1, David Bowie was the first choice of Denis Villeneuve to play Neander Wallace, the Jared Leto part in 2049.
Imagine that movie.
Yeah, what a... I have a lot of thoughts on 2049. They do not necessarily align with Eric's. I think it's a great movie.
It's Jaws: The Revenge of Blade Runner.
Yeah. But it definitely would have gone up to I'm betting a whole new level of greatness had David Bowie played the Jared Leto part. And when David Bowie's half-brother, Terry Burns, died of suicide in 1985, the note attached to the roses that Bowie sent to his funeral read, "You've seen more things than we can imagine, but all these moments will be lost to time like tears in the rain. God bless you, David." Because obviously David Bowie is a huge fan of Blade Runner. Why wouldn't he be? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna say, and this is, I've never said this in public before. I think I prefer it if Deckard's a human being.
I do too.
I think that's fair. I honestly, after we were all teenage boys once, and had opinions way too strong to be supported by anything.
Say the least.
I think he's, I've certainly made the argument in the past that he's a replicant, and I really, at this point in my life, don't even begin to give a shit. I think human is totally, sure, great. I think that's a totally valid interpretation, and it makes the movie read in interesting ways, but so does the replica, so does it if he's a replicant.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree that it doesn't really matter in the end, one way or the other. But aesthetically, just for me, in my mind, I prefer it. He's a human because it blurs the line more between the artificial life and the natural life if he is a human and accepts her.
Yeah,
in the end.
I agree. I also like that Blade Runner 2049 chose not to really address it, from what I recall.
Yeah, it really doesn't.
Which was a smart move that I guess we can talk about whenever we cover that movie.
Except the only thing is that he's living in sort of the radioactive, there was the dirty bomb in Las Vegas. So he's living in this radioactive wasteland. So maybe because he is a replicant, he's not as affected by the radiation. Or maybe he just doesn't give a shit and he wants to die.
Yeah. Who knows?
So...
Hey, ambiguity. That's what I am here for.
Baby.
Yeah.
All right. Something that isn't ambiguous is that this is a movie and it needs to be rated on the patented high-tech, low-life rating scale.
I don't think we told you about this, Chris, but
there's a scale. Okay.
We do it.
Yes.
We can do it quickly. It has no value whatsoever, but we do it for every movie. There's 5 categories. 4 of them. This sounds dumber every time I explain it to somebody. 4 of them,
because it's very dumb.
You're really selling it. You're really selling it to me right now.
4 of them are a 1 to 10 scale, and we will do those first, and then I'll explain the last category. So we rate it on its story, how well it's written, its influence, like what it has done for the genre of cyberpunk, its prescience, how well it predicted the future, and its style, which is self-explanatory. 1 to 10. The Blade Runner story, I think most of these are going to be 10. I think the Blade Runner story is a good one. It's unique. It has been copied many times. I think it's a 10.
Sure. I'll go writing, just in general.
I want to.
I'd give it an 8.
Yeah, see, I'm thinking 8.5. It's very unique and interesting for science fiction. It is, I mean, it's really good, but it is less unique and interesting if you've watched a shitload of noir movies and
True
40s.
Well, at least you know where it comes. You actually know where it comes from.
Yeah,
you know?
and I mean, like 8.5 is still a very good movie. I'm just going to lay it out right now. All the rest of my ratings are going to be 10s. I
figured. You gave Aeon Flux a 9, so you're saying Aeon Flux is a better story than Blade Runner, just so you know.
Okay, I'll go 9.
I think that this is. I would not go 9 for Aeon Flux. I'll tell you that. But
the cartoon, not the movie. The cartoon.
I wouldn't do that either.
That's fair.
I wouldn't go 9 on that.
We had to make sure you knew that we did not give the movie a 9.
Yeah.
I was so disappointed by that movie. I can't even tell you.
Yeah.
So were we.
Let's move on to the next category of influence.
This is a 10. Influence.
I don't think there's any way you can.
This is an 11.
Yeah, that's a 400.
Yeah, because this actually influenced Neuromancer. So it's like sort of it's almost the text of certainly the text of. Well, I don't know about that.
And
it's close.
To be fair, we gave Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep a 10 in this category as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
It's the text of how cyberpunk looks.
Yeah,
I mean,
it absolutely is. Prescience. How well do you think they nailed the future?
Well, it pretty much fucking sucks. Yeah. So I'm gonna go 10.
I don't know.
I don't think it nailed it that hard.
Yeah,
but there are a lot of aspects of it that it really predicted much better. That really aged much better than a lot of things from that era. Absolutely. Like I said, we were talking about it predicted the Asian influence on popular culture, just as a random thing. We don't have flying cars, which is frankly for the better. Because look at all the fucking shit we get into with the cars that don't fly.
Yeah,
and we also have to take into account it was so popular. How much of it was influence, and how much of it was self-fulfilling influence?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
All seriously,
but we are currently grappling with questions of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, we are,
and artificial life, and what is the line, and where's that whole thing. So, Prescience, I'll give it a 7.
I think I would honestly go 8. Although I do think it surprisingly nails the LA rains for the past 2 years. Like 3 years ago.
Yeah. 3
years ago,
right.
I would have said that's totally wrong. LA's in a fucking drought and has been for 15 years.
Into the actual LA of 2019 was in a drought.
Yeah.
It was in a drought. So
I think I'm gonna split the difference.
So it's a little late.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to have a point off for that, right? It missed it by like 4 years.
Right. Yeah. Our last 1 to 10 category is style. I think Blade Runner is a very stylish movie. It, like we said, it kind of influenced. I mean, that's what cyberpunk looks like. So, I think I gotta get 10.
11.
Yeah. My response to the style question is my jaw drops to the floor, my tongue unrolls like a fucking red carpet, my eyes bug out.
Awooga plays.
Awooga. Yeah, it's it's 11.
Yeah. I mean, Rachel's hair, Rachel's whole look.
Yeah, everything, like the fucking spray paint on Pris's eyes. I mean, it's too cool.
Edward James Olmos. Sorry to talk over you.
Yeah,
Edward James Olmos.
Yeah,
the outfit.
He could kind of get a 10 by
I think that Ridley Scott. Right, I think Ridley Scott is primarily a visual stylist. I think that's where his head's at.
Yeah,
and he's really, really, really good at it. And he needs a good script to work on. And when he has that, he's great.
You're right.
That's what I think.
Our last category.
Yeah, definitely 11.
Yeah, I agree. Our last category is simply a 1 to 5. We call it our 1 to 5 hand raisers scale. How much, just fun enjoyment. How much did you enjoy watching this movie? It's obviously one of my favorites. I'm going to give it a 5. I'm pretty sure Josh is too.
Yeah, 5.
I'll give it a 5. I find the film absolutely endlessly fascinating and have for years. So I'll give it a 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's honestly amazing that this movie that I have seen, I don't know how many times, And even in this past week or, 2 weeks that I have watched many times in this past 2 weeks. And still, if I like went over to somebody's house and they were like, "You want to watch Blade Runner?" I'd be like, "Sure, why not?" I mean, there's always some new level of fucking detail and weirdness, and it's got such intense vibes that it's something you can easily toss on, kind of in the background and just glance over, and you're like, "Oh shit, yeah, Rutger Hauer looking sexy and murdering somebody. Huh, cool."
Or you can insert clips of it into your 90s grunge metal song, and it fits right in.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, that's all our ratings. That's pretty much it for our Blade Runner thing. Pretty much it for
y'all. Thank you so much for having me. I've had a really good time talking about Blade Runner with y'all. And
thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I had a blast.
I'm really glad. I think this worked out. I feel like on our end, this worked out really fucking well because I know I had a hell of a time, and I'm really glad to have talked to you about a great movie that everybody enjoyed.
We do have to quickly announce what we're covering next week for listeners, and it's going to be a novel because next week for you is like 3 weeks for us, and we got plenty of time to read it. It's called Halting State by Charles Stross. Did I get that right, Josh?
Yes, that is correct. It came out in 2007.
So
it's set in Scotland. It's fun.
It is not nearly as popular as Blade Runner, but
no,
it's out there and available to read on the internet if you are interested.
Yeah, it's a good book. I've read it before.
We're going to have a traffic dip, but that's fine.
Yes, almost certainly.
They can't all be Blade Runner.
They can't all be Blade Runner.
No, they really
can't.
And
we've been watching some fun stuff. So, I mean, not that this isn't fun. I don't know. I haven't read it yet. We'll see. Anyway, Chris, plug anything you got to plug, and then we'll roll out of here.
Astronomica. Listen to us. We are a live play Stars Without Number podcast. We aspire to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy tone.
Yeah,
sure.
And
with
sometimes we get there. More Marxism and a lot more death.
A lot more murder.
A lot more murder. And just sort of also...
and scrambling.
Well, scrambling, there's genetic experiments. There are, like Blade Runner, extremely sexy
pleasure models.
Yeah.
Extremely sexy.
Separating orifices.
Separating orifices. Yeah. That's what I want to plug. Do that, and you can read my film reviews and other stuff on the Memphis Flyer, memphisflyer.com.
Awesome.
And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. We had a great time.
Yeah, this was an incredible pleasure on our end.
For me, it was your basic pleasure model.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me. That's my job.
Well, I, on the other hand, lead a kick murder squad.
You guys can find us on Twitter at Johnny60seconds and on Blue Sky, whatever. I don't know, search for our podcast name. And we will see you next week. We ended with a quote last time. Josh, do you have another one?
Oh, I suppose I could probably come up with another one. That hurt. That was irrational of you. Not to mention unsportsmanlike. Where are you going?
They're going away because it's the end. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
This has been the High Tech Low Life podcast. Find us on Twitter at Johnny60seconds, email us at hightechlowlifepodcast@gmail.com, and find us on Patreon at patreon.com/hightechlowlife. Theme music by Nihilor at nihilor.com. Thank you for listening.
Keep it moving. Come on, what are you waiting on? They're trashing our rights, man! They're trashing the fluid data! They're trashing! Everybody, hype the planet! Hype the planet! Shut up and get in the car! It's too bad she won't live. But then again, who does?